United Kingdom General Election 2017 will take place on 8 June. This general election has been called earlier than its due time. This general election is carrying significant importance. Whoever will get elected will sit in Brexit negotiation table. Whoever will get elected will set priorities, Britain's priorities at home and abroad. From NHS to tackling terrorism, the next government has so many works to do. NTV Europe is one of the leading TV channel among British Bangladeshi community in UK. For this reason, we have organized General Election 2017 TV debate, bringing candidates from all major political parties. We will listen to their manifesto, their policy, politics, and we will find out who has the best for United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Adnan Pavel and I'm your host for tonight. Now, this program has been divided into 4 segments. The first segment, every candidate will have 3 minutes time to make their opening remark. On second and third segment, we will listen more from the manifesto, and the final segment, we will listen their answer from the question that we have gathered from NTV Europe's audience. So on my right hand side, I have Chris Wilford at the very right hand side of mine. Chris Wilford is MP candidate from Conservative Party. Then I have Ellen Backshaw, she's Lib Dem MP candidate. And then I have Alistair Paulson, he's Green Party MP candidate. Then I have Marina Ahmed, Labour Party MP candidate. Thank you all 4 of you for joining us today at NTV Europe on this special general election TV debate. We'll listen to what policy your party have and what is best for Britain. Before I start talking about the manifesto, policy, politics, I would like to invite Marina Ahmed, Labour Party MP candidate from Beckenham, to make her opening remark. Ladies and gentlemen, Marina Ahmed, Labour Party MP candidate from Beckenham. You have 3 minutes time.
70 years ago, Britain faced one of the worst terrorist atrocities in its history. Along with millions of people around the world, I pass on my deepest condolences and prayers for those whose lives were cut so brutally short, and for those lives that were so irrevocably changed in Manchester that night. And just like all of us in Britain, I have nothing but gratitude and bottomless admiration for the emergency services who yet again showed their unending professionalism and compassion. We return now to campaigning for our democratic general election on the 8th of June. Despite the threats against us, we carry on, because this is Britain, and these are our values, and this is what we do. In Britain today, we are moving backwards. We have been under severe austerity now for the last 7 years, with very little to show for it. Under the Conservative government, the NHS has been cut to the bone. The social care crisis has left older people stuck in hospitals. School children are in ever larger classes. Vicious cuts to disability benefits have left people vulnerable and desperate. We live in a country of increasing homelessness and child poverty. Our emergency services have had their funding slashed, and in real terms, salaries are now worth less than 10 years ago. The national debt has surpassed 1 trillion, the highest level of any British government in British history. And the Brexit negotiations, the most important negotiation of a generation, are based on empty slogans and posturing. All the Conservative manifesto shows now is more of the same: austerity, debt and damage to pensioners, to young people, to workers and to family. A Labour government offers a better Britain, one where the NHS is cherished and given the resources that it needs to keep us healthy and well. Social care, where people have paid all their lives into the pot and are taken care of without worrying about their savings. Schools that are funded properly, and university fees are abolished. Only Labour will keep us safe by properly funding our emergency and security services. Only Labour will ensure a Brexit negotiation with the best deal for Britain, our workers and our economy. Voting Labour is voting strength, unity and hope. Voting Labour is voting for a better Britain.
Thank you very much. Now may I invite Chris Wilford, MP candidate from Conservative Party, to make his opening remark. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Wilford from Conservative Party. Chris, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and with Ramadan about to get underway, Ramadan Mubarak. I would echo the comments about the tragic events in Manchester, and as the campaign resumes, we return to what this election is about. Last year, Britain took the historic decision to leave the European Union. Theresa May, the Conservative Prime Minister, called this election to strengthen her hand in those negotiations. 11 days from the 8th of June, Britain will be going into those negotiations to debate with the EU 27 to get the best deal for you and your family. This election is about who you want to lock in the economic progress we have made since the worst economic crisis since before the Second World War, and also who you want to lead on the biggest public policy challenge since the Second World War. This is a time of crisis, a time for strong leadership, and a vote for Theresa May and the Conservatives is to have that person with the strength to get the best deal for Britain.
Thank you, Chris. Now may I invite Alan Baxter, Lib Dem MP candidate. Alan, you have 3 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for watching. I just want to echo the comments about the terrible events that happened in Manchester on Monday. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of the families that have been caught up in this and the friends of the people whose lives were so tragically taken on Monday. This election is about the kind of society that you and I want to live in and what we want the country to look like post-Brexit. For me, I want us to carry on living in an open, tolerant and united country, not one that continues to be divided by some of the policies that we've seen over the past 2 years. On Brexit, what we want to do as Liberal Democrats is make sure that you have the final say on the deal. It's only you and I that can decide whether or not that deal works for us. It's not for politicians in a dark room to make up their minds on our behalf. And so a vote for us is a vote for a referendum on the final deal to make sure that it works for everyone, not just a select few. We also want to make sure that as a society we look after everyone and that people have dignity in their old age. So we will make sure that there is a penny on income tax to fund the NHS properly, to give it an extra £6 billion a year, and £1 billion of that will be reserved for mental health care to make sure that the people that really need support get it as and when it's necessary, rather than having to sit on incredibly long waiting lists. We also want to make sure we do the best for our young people in this country. So on education, we'll reverse the cuts that the Conservatives have been pushing through government at the moment, and we'll triple the pupil premium that brought significant amounts of funding into schools when we were in coalition government. And we also want to make sure that young people get the opportunities that they need. So on housing, we'll bring in a policy where you can rent to buy. So if you're renting, part of that money goes towards you owning your own property. And that there's a strong economy so that you have opportunities in work through things like apprenticeships, a living wage, and that you're able to achieve your full potential. This election is really, really important, not just on Brexit, but also about what does our world look like after Brexit. There were some terrible comments made during the referendum campaign. There have been increases in hate crime ever since. I want to make sure that we unite our society, that we stay being the multicultural, open, tolerant, united country that we have been, and that everyone feels that this is their home.
Thank you very much. May I now invite Alistair Paulson, Green Party MP candidate. Alistair, you have 3 minutes.
I join with everybody else in just pausing for a second to reflect on what happened in Manchester just a few days ago. Particular resonance to me. I knew someone who was in the stadium that night. She's fine. physically, but who knows what mental scars might exist at the end of the period of reflection. It reminds us that our world is intertwined with each other, that things that happen all over the world can have ramifications for us as well. And when we come to reflect on what happened in Manchester, we remember that the way that we solve our problems is not through battles or wars or violence. We resolve our differences through debate and discussion and by the operation of democracy. We can afford the luxury of having debates and discussions and disagreements, sometimes severe disagreements about the future we see for our country and for the world, and we resolve those democratically. The Green Party is a party which puts the environmental impact of the industrialisation of our planet at the forefront of everything that we do. We are an internationalist party, we are a forward-looking party, we are a party that cares about the young people and the legacy which we are going to leave to them. And that's why at the core of all our policies is the environment, and that reflects itself in our economic policies, which want to have a transformation of our economy into one which is centred on renewables, energy and renewable industries, that gets rid of the carbon from our economy completely, and we want to work to create an economy that is just and fair for everyone, because if we are going to have such transformations, it has to be done fairly so that everyone has a stake in what is going
you have
forward.
30 seconds.
So equality and reducing inequality are absolutely at the core of the economic policies, which I hope we'll have an opportunity of getting into in due course. The Green Party is offering a positive vision which puts the future of our planet absolutely at the heart of everything that we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I do have a common question for all four of you. If I start with you, Chris, this general election has been called earlier than is due time. Do you think the outcome of this general election will make Britain's position stronger in Brexit negotiation?
I think there is no doubt it did come earlier, but this is a unique time, as I set out, in our nation's history. I have no doubt it will make the position stronger as Britain enters into these negotiations. This is a critical point in our history, and actually a point that we're celebrating being a great democracy, that we took such a decision as we did, and now we're working towards delivering that will of the British people. And therefore, we've got to have the right people in that room that we negotiate with the EU 27 to get the best deal. So yes, it will strengthen the hand with Theresa May offering that strong leadership.
Thank you. But there was general election in Greece when Greece was going through some turmoil in their economy, but it didn't make their position stronger in EU. So why this will make Britain's position stronger in Brexit negotiation?
I think there's no doubt there's been concerns, as voiced by the Prime Minister, about European scrutiny of what's going on here. You know, the referendum was a very close-fought battle, was very divisive. But we need to come behind that decision now and get on with the job. And a lot of people I'm meeting on the doorstep, that's what they're saying. Now let's get on with it, let's get it done, and let's get it done in the best way possible. We're in a different situation to Greece, if I may. You know, they were trying to negotiate with the Germans, you know, how do they get the right money? This is about forging our way as an independent nation. Therefore, I think it will strengthen.
Thank you very much. If I ask you same question, do you think this general election, the outcome of this general election, will make Britain's position stronger in Brexit negotiation?
No, I don't think it will. I think it's a purely opportunist election, and whilst it's being sold as strengthening the hand of the government, actually from the European Union's point of view, that it doesn't matter whether Theresa May has a 12-seat majority or a 112-seat majority, if she had gone into the negotiations without an election, you know, she's still the Prime Minister, that's still the government. I did a trip to the European Parliament in December to understand what was happening with the negotiations, and Europe's been very clear that actually they also want to make progress on this as soon as possible, and we've actually delayed our own negotiations by calling a general election that I think is for Theresa May's own political benefit rather than the benefit of people in the negotiations.
How this is for her own political benefit?
Well, until recent opinion polls, obviously she was streaking ahead, and so there may have been a very clear majority for her. I guess what's interesting at the moment with the polls tightening is that actually that may not be the case, and there are all kinds of situations we could end up in.
Thank you very much. Alistair, do you think the outcome of this general election will make Britain's position stronger?
I don't, actually, because I think that the position that we have got ourselves into is Theresa May trying to lock the United Kingdom into something which they never voted for, which is hard Brexit. Hard Brexit was not on the ballot paper. Indeed, many people who were advocating a vote to leave the European Union at the same time were assuring us that we would be able to stay within the European Union, the single market, that we would be able to have freedom of movement.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so I think losing these things are absolutely disastrous for our country.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll listen from you why this, whether this election will make Britain's position stronger or not. We need to go for a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are having a general election 2017 TV debate. Stay with us. We need to go for a quick break.